This was the day the Sister Wives world stopped pretending. For years, fans thought they'd witnessed it all, and the love, the fights, the catfish scandal, the marriages falling apart one after another. But what you're about to hear was never meant to be captured on camera. Hey everyone, it's Anya, and welcome back to Reality Recap. What unfolded was a courtroom clash that shattered any illusion of unity. Meri Brown, once the quietly shadowy wife of polygamy, now stood armed with heaps of documents and a voice sterner than the loudest gavel bash. This wasn't reality TV any longer. These were actual land titles, bank wiring instructions, signed contracts, broken vows, and the instant Meri confronted the man who'd constructed an empire out of her devotion and informed him it was all a lie, something changed. What went down in that courtroom didn't merely shock Kody Brown into quietude. It spread through every aspect of the Sister Wives universe. Because behind those courthouse doors, a secret about Coyote Pass, that 12-acre vision of a shared future, was finally brought to light. And if you thought you knew who really owns that land, you might need to think again. In the next 10 minutes, you'll hear the opening statement that froze the judge in her seat, see the documents Cody fought desperately to keep sealed, and uncover the deal that was meant to ensure every wife had a piece of Coyote Pass, a deal that somehow left Meri with nothing. We'll trace the timeline from the 2014 legal divorce, to Robyn adopting Cody's children, to the moment Meri discovered her name had been left off the deed. And before we're done, you'll see why this case isn't just about Arizona soil. It's about 3 decades of unpaid labor, reality TV manipulation, and a man rewriting family history to suit himself. The atmosphere in the courtroom that day was not quiet, but tense. Each cough, each sound of paper being moved was like the cocking of a pistol. Meri Brown stood up. Her heels tapped against the shiny floor, ringing out more loudly than they ought. Not because it was loud itself, but because all of the individuals in the room were collectively holding their breath. Imagine it, the Meri Brown reality show depicted as the quiet one, the one perpetually in the background as larger-than-life personalities took center stage, now walking purposefully towards the stand. Her gaze was fixed on the man to whom she once had given her whole life. She was dressed in a dark blue blazer, strong, intentional. Her blonde hair tied back in an unforgiving knot. Clutched in her hand was a fat folder, not for appearance, but true proof. She didn't hesitate when she walked past Robyn sitting next to Cody. She didn't stutter when she gazed at the man who had promised her spiritual equality. Sliding up to the microphone, she dipped it low. Quiet. "Your Honor," she started. Her speech was firm, though it shuddered lightly on the perimeters, not out of fear, but from 3 decades worth of rage and sorrow demanding to be let out. "I appear before you today to take back what's mine, not only as a wife, but as a woman, a mother, and a human being. I want what is mine, and I'm not leaving." Gasps of shock wove through the gallery. In that moment, the game was transformed. This was not Meri trying to reconcile. This was Meri calling out Cody in the one place where his charm and control did not count: a courtroom. Her words hung suspended like smoke that would not lift. The judge, a 60-ish woman with steel gray hair and a bun, nodded deliberately. Her calm eyes raked Meri with an intensity that announced to everyone in the room this would not be cast aside. Meri had been waiting 30 years for this. 30 years of compromising, of bending herself into the mold Cody required. And now she was finally on the floor. What she didn't have was time, because the defense was poised to strike. Meri pulled out the first page from her folder. Its corners were creased, as if she'd carried it for months, perhaps even slept with it within reach. "This," she told the judge, holding it up so that he could see, "is an August 14th, 2018 payment receipt. A deposit from my business account to the family trust." That trust was established to fund the Coyote Pass property. She paused. "And yet, my name was never listed on the deed." A ripple of dismay swept the gallery. She pulled a second sheet. "This is a letter from the real estate agent, recording my interest in investment." At last, she pulled a third, her fingers clenched tightly around it as if holding it hurt. "And this is a copy of the show contract that all of us signed." It clearly says that profits from filming would support our collective future, namely, constructing houses on Coyote Pass. The judge nodded forward, Cody's arms folded tightly enough his knuckles whitened. Robyn glared at the floor. This was the moment Cody had dreaded, not just because Meri had paperwork in her hands, but because each page in that folder was a reminder. His own words, his own promises, committed to paper, now turned into evidence. Meri's voice was like a blade. When Cody and I got divorced in 2014 so he could marry Robyn legally and adopt her children, I did it under the assumption that spiritual equality would continue, that our emotional, financial, and moral agreements would still be valid. That assumption was a lie. Cody clenched his jaw. Robyn fidgeted, her fingers twisting together in her lap. "I've lived 30 years in this family," Meri went on. "I had a child. I assisted in producing the very show which earned this property. And now, I've been quietly, deliberately informed that I'm not deserving of so much as 1 square inch." Her fingers clenched the stand. "I surrendered my legal marriage. I surrendered my voice. But I am not surrendering anything else." From where she was standing behind her, Janelle leaned in, her gaze fixed on Meri in wordless solidarity, a quiet me too. The Coyote Pass. Dream. To understand the gravity of this moment, you must turn the clock back to 2018. When Coyote Pass was mere conception, Cody's conception, he painted it for his wives' imaginations. 4 personalized homes on 12 Flagstaff, Arizona, acres, equal ownership, equal voice, equal tomorrow. It seemed equitable. Flash forward to Cody beaming for the TLC cameras, arms outstretched, discussing leaving a legacy for the family. But what the cameras did not capture were the money arrangements, the transactions, the contracts. Because even though Cody spoke about equality, his behavior said otherwise. Back in court again, the judge asked, "Mrs. Brown, was the property always to be split equally?" "Yes, Your Honor," Meri answered. "It was always to be divided 4 ways among the wives. That was the deal. Verbal, emotional, financial, and in writing." The judge continued, "And when did you find out your name wasn't on the deed?" "Not until late 2023, Meri told him. "Janelle and I began to compare documents." "And what did you do afterward?" "I sat down with Cody. He said he worked harder so he should get more, but that wasn't the agreement. We never made it about who made more. We made it about dividing the land equally because we were family." The bailiff handed an evidence folder to the clerk. Cody's lawyer, navy blue suit, immaculately pressed, his features carved out like granite, stood up. "Objection, Your Honor. This is too sentimental and irrelevant to the legal ownership of the property. Mrs. Brown's involvement was spiritual, not monetary." Meri emitted a muted, barely audible laugh. Her lawyer, tan suit, sharp eyes, stood beside her. "Excuse me, Your Honor. The Brown family's money was set up in a way by Mr. Brown that all of it, from TLC, from side business, from joint ventures, flowed into common accounts. Mrs. Brown wasn't just a spiritual wife. She was an unpaid co-owner in a decades-long enterprise, and that enterprise paid for Coyote Pass." The judge's eyebrow rose. Cody's attorney sat jaw-clenched. The 2014 divorce had been perceived as an altruistic gesture, Meri sacrificing her lawful marriage so Cody might marry Robyn and adopt children. It was sold as love fidelity family, but actually it was leverage, and Cody held it tightly in his hand. We see flashes of Cody smiling after the adoption, Meri standing beside him with a polite smile. She had given up her legal status, and with it the rights that could have protected her. Now, in the courtroom, Meri's lawyer moved to admit the documents into evidence. Cody sat frozen, except for the foot tapping under the table. Robyn stared at the floor. The balance of power had changed. Meri was no longer a complaining wife. She was a plaintiff with bank statements, each page disassembling the portrait Cody had built over years. And then the next shoe fell. "Mrs. Janelle Brown, come up to the stand," the judge instructed. Janelle rose slowly, years of marriage and years of being pushed aside visible in her posture. She wasn't just a witness, she had been a co-architect of the Coyote Pass vision. She had invested her own savings, her business income, and her trust into it. But as she stepped forward, the truth was unavoidable. Her investment, like Meri's, had been erased on paper. She fiddled with the microphone, her voice firm but laced with subtle steel. "Your Honor, I stand here not for myself, but for fairness, for transparency. When Coyote Pass was bought, Cody promised me in person that all 4 wives would have equal shares. 4 wives, 4 lots, 4 futures. That was the promise." The judge leaned forward. "And you financially invested in this property?" "Yes," replied Janelle. "From my business account and from earnings with TLC. Each time I deposited," Janelle insisted, "it was in good faith, thinking I was providing for my family's future. But when Meri and I worked through our records, we saw we weren't overlooked. We were omitted." Her tone turned bitter. "I approached Cody. He said to me, and I'm quoting, 'I've done more for this family than either of you, so I get more.' That was not the deal we cut. That was not the family we promised each other." To Janelle, Coyote Pass was not dirt. It was the final string holding her to the plural marriage, well past the time love was gone. She had spent years living on thin financial margins, splitting her own employment with TLC Productions, thinking each dollar was going toward that dream. Then the paperwork appeared, and she was told the dream never belonged to her, it belonged to Cody and Robyn. Once again in court, Cody's attorney stood. "Mrs. Brown, can you demonstrate your investment was earmarked specifically for Coyote Pass?" Janelle didn't flinch. "Yes, I have bank statements and signed documents from the family trust pinpointing the land purchase. They've been filed with the court." "But the property is in Mr. Brown's name," the attorney prodded. "Exactly," Janelle fired back, "because he insured it." A low rumble moved through the gallery. Cody's face turned deep red. Cody takes the stand. "Mr. Kody Brown, please step forward," the judge instructed. Cody stood up, a stiffness creeping into his movement that bordered on the rehearsed. He fussed with his tie, an unusual movement, and sat back down. The bailiff administered the oath. This was the moment viewers had been waiting for. For years, Cody's version of events had gone unchallenged in confessionals, podcasts, and carefully crafted TLC edits. But here, in a court of law, spin had no place. Meri's lawyer stepped up. "Mr. Brown, is it true that all 4 wives contributed financially to the purchase of Coyote Pass?" Cody leaned back in his chair. They helped the family. "I did a lot of the actual work to get the land." "Answer the question straight. Yes or no, did all 4 wives financially contribute?" A pause. "Yes." "And was there a plan to split the land equally between wives?" "We talked about it, but we never had a legal agreement." "But there was a verbal agreement, wasn't there?" "Maybe." But things change. That line, "things change," struck like a slap. Because the only thing that had changed for Meri and Janelle was Cody's allegiance and his paperwork. "Mr. Brown," the attorney continued, "did you know that Meri and Janelle's names were never added to the deed?" "Yes. And you didn't think that you should tell them?" "It wasn't necessary." The lawyer allowed the silence to linger. "Not necessary to remind 2 women who invested their own money that they no longer had a legal right to the property they were promised?" "They got to use the property when we were still a family," Cody grumbled. The judge's brow furrowed. "Mr. Brown, the court is not concerned with enjoyment, but with ownership." Cody's jaw tightened. He glanced at Robyn quickly, who sat stone-faced, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The divide. In the years leading up to this day, the Brown family had splintered in full view of the cameras. Christine's departure, Janelle's quiet withdrawal, Meri's isolation. And all the while, Cody's narrative was that the wives had abandoned him. But now, under oath, the paper trail told a different story, that he had abandoned them long before they walked away. Cross-examination, Mr. Brown, Meri's attorney inquired, "Did you spend TLC revenues earned by all 4 wives, on Coyote Pass?" "Yes, but thank you. No further questions." The defense attorney interrupted. "Mr. Brown, isn't it that you did most of the planning, negotiating, and vision for Coyote Pass?" "Yes, my idea, my work." "And without your work, the property wouldn't exist, right?" Right. Looking at the judge, the attorney stated, "Which is why he should have the majority ownership." And there it was, the whole argument of the defense out in the open. That vision was worth more than years of backbreaking labor together, that the man who dreamed it should own it himself. But visions don't stand up in court like deeds do. The rebuttal. The judge addressed Meri's lawyer. "Do you want to continue cross-examining?" Her attorney, dressed in tan, her expression unreadable, stood up slowly. This was when most lawyers would tire, but not hers. Meri wasn't present here to suffer through this trial. She was here to conquer it. Stepping to the middle of the courtroom, her heels tick-tocking like the sound of a clock counting down, she spoke to the bench. "Your Honor, Mr. Brown asserts Coyote Pass wouldn't exist without his vision, that without him there'd be no land." We refute that statement. She yielded to the gallery. As a matter of fact, we do have a witness who can directly testify to the origin of the purchase, and who funded it, actually. The surprise witness. The bailiff opened the side door, and in walked a lanky man in a tailored gray suit, a big leather folder in his hand. He was introduced as Daniel Harris, the family's old real estate broker. Cody's complexion turned white in an instant. Harris had been a mere signature on closing papers for years, but now, under oath, his testimony could blow Cody's whole story apart. Harris was sworn and seated. Meri's attorney made his move. "Mr. Harris, can you describe your involvement in the Coyote Pass purchase?" "Yes. I was the broker who sold it in 2018. I negotiated with the family trust and coordinated all 4 wives' ownership in the property." "All 4 wives?" "Yes. Each was presented as an equal co-owner in the initial negotiations." A shiver of commotion ran through the gallery. Cody's lawyer stood up at once. "Your Honor, unless there's paperwork," the witness held up the folder. "There is. Emails, signed minutes of the meeting, and the initial draft of the deed listing all 4 wives as joint owners." That folder was a bombshell. If Harris was right, along the line somewhere between that draft and final submission, Meri and Janelle's names had been erased, and someone had signed off on it. Meri's attorney persisted. "Mr. Harris, from your experience, is it normal to change a deed from draft to filing, unless instructed by the client? In this instance, that client was Mr. Brown." Cody flinched. "That is not correct." The judge's clipped voice stopped him. "Mr. Brown, you will have your turn." The smoking gun. Harris unfolded his folder and revealed a printed email. "This is from Mr. Brown to me, September 2018, telling me to complete the deed in only his name and to avoid unnecessary confusion by erasing Meri and Janelle." Gasps rippled through the room. Meri and Janelle shared a glance. Not shock, but vindication. It was obvious now to everyone Cody's defense was no longer about vision or hard work. It was about control, and the paper trail caught up with him. Cody's damage control move. Cody's lawyer came in for cross. "Mr. Harris, did you possibly misread Mr. Brown's intent?" "No, his instructions were clear, and I obeyed." "Could it have been intended as a temporary solution?" "Not with a recorded deed. Filed. It's there, unless legally changed." The defense lawyer set his teeth, knowing momentum was lost. No further questions. Closing minutes in court. The judge rocked back, tapping her pen against a notepad. "With the complexity of testimony and the new evidence that has been brought forward, I require more time before making a decision." Meri's attorney began to speak, but the judge held up his hand. "This court will reconvene in 2 weeks. All records related to Coyote Pass are to remain sealed and intact. Any attempt to tamper with them will be contempt. And suddenly the room deflated. No verdict. Not yet. But the truth was out. Cody had been caught lying about the dream he had promised his wives, and the only man who could show it had done so in black and white. The aftermath. Outside the courthouse, reporters surged the steps, microphones shoved forward. Meri hesitated, folder crunched against her chest. Hey, I didn't come here to ruin anyone's life. I came here to take back something I worked for. Janelle moved up behind her. We're not stopping. Not now. Not ever. Through a side exit, Cody slipped away, Robyn close behind. Neither spoke. Neither smiled. The battle for Coyote Pass wasn't over. But in 2 weeks, the gavel would fall. Either Meri and Janelle would reclaim their share, or Cody would walk away with it all. One thing was certain. The sister wives' world would never see him the same again. The media storm. The screen was divided. Pixelated courtroom drawings on the left, a light box of commentators on the right. As the legal battle raged, the world outside was on fire. Social media updates blew up. Hashtags #Conspiracy and #justice. For Jane dominated for hours. One of the trending virals depicted a die-hard Sister Wives fan looking into her phone. We've followed this family for over a decade. We've seen the fights, the tears, even divorces, but this feels criminal. The network's fan forums lit up with frame-by-frame dissections of courtroom footage, every eyebrow raise from Cody, every long sigh from Janelle scrutinized. Cut to a legal expert. Retired prosecutor and analyst Elaine Simmons sat before shelves of law books. From a purely legal perspective, she went on to say, this isn't all about money. It's about trust, long-standing oral commitments, and the soap opera of reality television life seeping into a real courtroom. The most intense moment for me was when Janelle's lawyer pulled out the unfiled land contracts, papers that could destroy any right Cody might have had to ownership and might be able to demonstrate that Robyn did achieve an unfair advantage. Narrator. On B-roll of courthouse steps, already crawling with reporters by noon, news vans from all the big players, TMZ, Entertainment Weekly, Sealed Evidence Revealed Tonight, People magazine parked side by side, cameras hung around, salivating over any scent of settlement or public breakdown. Already, one TikTok user had edited together footage from previous Sister Wives shows, adding text above them detailing the day's explosive courtroom revelations. The text stated, "The receipts were there the whole time, we just never noticed." Marcus Delgado, civil litigation expert. If that surprise testimony sticks, we may see a domino effect, reversing not only property rights but also the way reality TV contracts are structured. Networks may begin protecting themselves from lawsuits spawned out of family conflicts like this one. And yet, as the country argued betrayal and deeds to the land, rumors started to spread about one last piece of evidence. Something in a brown envelope said to be powerful enough to shut down the trial in a single blow. Courtroom, afternoon session. The gallery buzzes with muted chatter. The judge raps twice with the gavel, but the hum only eases, never ceases. Janelle sits stiff, her eyes fixed on one thing sitting on the table of evidence. A fat, dog-eared brown envelope bearing the bright red word, confidential in large block letters. It had sat there for hours, untouched, unopened, dominating. Both sides had danced around it the whole morning, but now flight was not an option. Judge, counsel, approach. The lawyers move in. A whispered transaction. Cody looks at Robyn, his face set, knuckles clenched against the edge of the table. Robyn's eyes dance to the envelope, then back again, as if to maintain eye contact too long would scorch her. The decision is made. The envelope will be opened with the court's oversight. Commentary intercut, morning TV show host. The minute the judge directed that seal to be broken, that's when it was no longer a family soap opera. After that, I knew everything was going to be different. In the courtroom again, the bailiff cuts the seal. Pages fall out. Photocopies, handwritten notes, signatures laden with heavy ink. What spilled onto the table wasn't merely paper, it was history, trapped in legalese. Prosecutor, Your Honor, Exhibit 49, a 2015 signed agreement. It records monies wired from the family trust directly into a bank account held only in Robyn Brown's name. The gallery erupts with gasps. Janelle's attorney turns another page. Prosecutor. And this? Emails from Mr. Brown to the Coyote Pass developers, reassuring the wives they'd all have an equal stake in the property. The sketch artist's camera captures the precise moment Cody's jaw becomes granite. Intercut commentary, Elaine Simmons, legal analyst. That's the smoking gun, signature, date, money trail. It connects everything together. And Robyn's name being the sole one written? That's going to linger with the jury. But in the envelope was more than property records. Folded in between was a personal letter, twice creased, in Cody's handwriting. Prosecutor reading aloud. If the rest of them ever figure out what we settled on, it's all over. This earth was meant to be ours all along, Robyn. The others will get around to seeing it eventually. The gallery erupts into whispers. Christine, seated in the back row, covers her mouth. Meri closes her eyes, shaking her head. One envelope had solidified years of suspicion into cold fact. And beyond those courtroom doors, the internet was already burning. Late afternoon, 4:17 p.m. by the clock. The air is thick now, as if even oxygen is waiting for the judge's words. 3 weeks of evidence, dozens of exhibits, a near century of cross-examination that destroyed reputations, ultimately boiling down to these last minutes. The jury walks in, faces inscrutable. One holds her verdict form like it will scorch her fingers. Judge, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you in agreement? Foreperson, yes, we are, Your Honor. Commentary intercut, live news anchor. We're watching live as the verdict in Janelle Brown versus Kody Brown is about to be read. If you're just tuning in, the sealed evidence revealed earlier today sent shockwaves through the courtroom. Some legal experts are already calling it one of the most pivotal moments in reality television history. Back within, Janelle sits upright, her attorney's hand on her arm. Cody's shoulders are strained, eyes staring straight ahead. Robyn leans forward, lips compressed into a tight white line. Narrator. Each blink explodes in the silence. Each inhale is measured. And then, the paper opens. Foreperson. In the matter of financial misconduct, we find the defendant. The word sticks in her throat. The silence is so complete, even the hum of the fluorescent lights is deafening. Commentary intercut, legal analyst panel. If Cody's found liable, this could open the door to criminal charges. If he's acquitted, the public backlash might be even worse. Back to the courtroom, slow motion. The lips of the foreperson form the word. The sound lingers in midair. All pairs of eyes, from the bailiff to the back pew, focus on that single syllable that will determine a family's future, a fortune's destiny, a legacy forged on TV screens. The camera flashes. The judge hovers forward, Janelle's clenching fist. Foreperson, guilty. The room explodes. Gasps, cries, reporters shoving toward the doors to blast the developing news. Cody bangs his fist on the table, speaking harshly to his lawyer. Janelle releases a breath, not of joy, but of exhausted, near-empty relief. Commentary intercut, fan reaction montage. TikTok user, knew it, played them all, and now it's coming for him. Twitter trends, justice. For Janelle podcast. Host. This verdict isn't about money, it's about trust, betrayal, and the end of an era. But as that gavel comes down once and for all, one question remains: what now? This family's drama is far from over, so smash that like if you're #Team Wives, subscribe for the next bombshell update, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Stay shady, stay curious, see you in the next scandal.